Hello, lovely friend. I am Dr. Mary Barson.
And I'm Dr. Lucy Burns.
We are doctors
and weight management and metabolic health experts.
And this is the Real Health and Weight Loss Podcast. Hello, lovely friend. Dr. Mary here. And I am joined by the fabulous blonde Dr. Lucy, my lovely, lovely colleague. How are you today, gorgeous one?
I'm very well, thanks, Maz. Very well. Gearing up for Easter. Looking forward to a few days away. I hear you're off camping.
I am, yes. That's kind of what Easter means to me. I know that it's a religious festival for many people, and that's fabulous. In our family, it means, a trip away, going to go camping in Gippsland, which will be good fun.
Beautiful, beautiful. Always good to get out with a bit of nature and decompress. And if you can, what's the word? Unplug. That's the word I was looking for. When you have a little bit of time away from social media in particular.
Yes, it's very good for your brain.
So I thought we'd talk this week about Easter because I know, people get worried about it, and particularly if people are perhaps newly on their journey. Is that a word, newly? If they're newcomers to particularly their low carb real food journey, or they've sort of, reached that point where they've decided to do something about their health and maybe, they've only started a couple of weeks ago. And I guess for some of those people, they will be people who are in our 12-week Mind Body Rebalance. And, they started their journey mid-Feb. So it's not that long into it. And Easter can feel like a gigantic mountain to climb.
It can, a gigantic high-carb mountain of hot cross buns and Easter eggs and expectations to indulge in large quantities of sugar and starch and a whole lot of social pressure to do that as well, with lots of shiny chocolate Easter eggs and chocolate bunnies gazing at you every time you go to the supermarket, smelling toasted hot cross buns at work all the time. Yes, it can be a tricky time to navigate indeed.
Yeah, it's interesting. It can be, but I don't find it tricky anymore, which is not to sort of toot my own trumpet, although maybe I will. It used to. So Easter used to be, and again, this is probably because I was a sort of a sugar addict, it was like a socially acceptable time to scoff yourself. So it was socially acceptable to eat piles of chocolate. So I was able to do it without going, oh, good, I do this every day, but now I can get away with it, which was sort of my mindset. It was like, yeah, it's all right though, because everyone else is doing it, so I don't need to worry.
Oh, I used to find it I could not regulate chocolate. Chocolate in particular, milk chocolate, white chocolate, absolutely. I'd scoff lots of it. I had strange notions about Easter many years ago. I remember my eldest daughter was a toddler, and despite my best efforts, she just got a stupid amount of chocolate and just continues to get a stupid amount of chocolate from extended family. And I sort of took it all off her thinking, I don't want my child to eat this, but then I didn't throw it out either. And I just, over the next few weeks, just ate this enormous amount of chocolate and really did my health a disservice, but it seemed a perfectly reasonable thing to do. So because I now do not find Easter particularly difficult. I can understand, though, the allure of those Easter foods, the allure of, well, this is a day to indulge, the allure of this is a day just to have a big blowout. It's Easter. It's fine. It's Easter. And it can be even socially unacceptable to not indulge in large quantities of starchy and sugary foods at Easter, which is tricky for a lot of people. It's navigatable, but you need to have a plan. And, we are up against it. The marketing juggernauts have taken hold of this religious festival and have turned it into, processed food nirvana.
Yeah. In fact, that you're absolutely right. It is a processed food festival. So it's the PFF. So the humble, or in this case, not so humble hot cross bun, which is like the ultimate in processed food these days, because whilst the hot cross bun, again, did have humble beginnings, it is now one of the main players in supermarkets, and the hot cross bun is not innocent. Like, it's not an innocent bystander. It is highly processed. And the thing that is tricky about it for, us mere mortals to navigate is that the toasting of it, presents an aroma. But the softness of these buns, like, these aren't hard things to chew. They're easy. They're so soft that you can wolf them down really quickly. Like, they don't need any chewing. You can almost just inhale them. And when you look at the list of 11 billion ingredients, that's the reason they're considered what is ultra-processed food. So ultra-processed food is food that uses a number of ingredients for which you are unlikely to find in your kitchen cupboard. So it was funny. I was having a little chat with one of my very sassy kids who I was saying, it's sort of when there's more than 5 ingredients. So she goes, what? So, and she holds up some salad that's got 5 things in it. I go, no, not those. 5 ingredients that are, things like wheat starch is an ingredient, or maltodextrin is an ingredient, or soy lecithin as an ingredient. None of those are actually ingredients. Whereas this salad,
that's right. That's right.
Salad with sassy pants, 5 things in it.
That's right. Yes. I get particularly concerned when the nutritional panel degrades into just numbers as well. They're not even telling you what they are. They just sort of got the numbers of the sweetener or the additive or the preservative.
Yeah. Yes. Sweeteners 965. Yeah, absolutely. And the colors that are listed. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So now, again, as you know, you guys are all the bosses of you, so you can do whatever you want. No, that makes no difference to me what you choose to do on Easter. 0 difference at all. Makes no difference to Dr. Mary what you do on Easter. 0 difference. What you need to decide, and I think what is helpful, is to think about a plan that you're happy with, so that at the end of Easter, you decide that, you know what, I'm happy with this plan and I'm glad I did it. And, again, one of our big things at Real Life Medicine is we have a little saying, we want people to wake up with no regrets. So if you choose to have Easter eggs on Easter Sunday, you're the boss of you, do whatever you want. If you choose not to have Easter eggs on Sunday, and you might want to have a little plan on how you're going to navigate that, because, locking yourself in the wardrobe isn't a good plan.
Probably not, no. While everyone's running around doing the Easter egg hunt, that's it, yes.
Or you may decide to sort of go middle of the road and have something that perhaps you wouldn't have ordinarily, but not necessarily go out and eat 11 billion hot cross buns and 2 kilos of Easter eggs.
Yes, yeah. All right. So, lovely, Lucy. Let's say that I am someone who finds it ordinarily pretty difficult to say no to some milk chocolate. Maybe I'm pretty new to my low carb journey, or, maybe I'm someone who normally just strongly controls my environment so that this food that's hard for me to regulate isn't around. And then I'm off to, my Auntie Selma's place, and there's just Easter eggs everywhere. There's children hyped up on sugar running around everywhere. People are thrusting Easter eggs in my face saying, here, eat some. What do you mean you're not going to eat it? It's Easter. Have some Easter eggs. Have some hot cross buns. What could be some ideas for me to formulate my plan to navigate that?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's lots of ways. So the first thing I would always say to people is, and I used to do this in Dietland, I would save up my calories for an occasion like this. So I would rock up to someone's house starving. I cannot tell you the number of 21st birthdays I went to where I hadn't eaten all day because I was saving my calories for that night. So I always think it's much easier to make healthful or helpful decisions if you're not starving. So it doesn't mean you have to go and eat all your food before you go, and therefore you don't need anything. But going somewhere not hungry means that you're basing then your decision on emotional rather than physiological needs. So that's the first thing. Again, you can choose to do that or not do that.
So it'd be like having brekkie with some protein in it, for example.
Yeah. So on the day, if you're going out for Easter lunch, well, then that morning, maybe you have a couple of scrambled eggs, 3 scrambled eggs or something like that, because maybe you don't normally eat brekkie. but you'd have your 3 eggs, and I can tell you, you're pretty full going there. Again, it still means that you can have some food. You don't need to be sitting in the corner not eating, but you're not as likely to then wolf down everything in sight. The second thing you can do is take something that is suitable for you. So, there's millions of fantastic low-carb foods. So, again, if you can make low-carb salads, you can make incredible curries, there's buckets of things. But if it's desserts or sort of Eastery things, then one of the options is to make, and I'm going to do this on the cooking show, which will come out actually the same time as this, so this will be interesting. On my cooking show, same day, I'm going to make some what's called chocolate bark. And look, the short version is that you melt some dark chocolate and you stir some slivered almonds through it and some freeze-dried raspberries. And then you let it cool, and then you break it up. And, again, how fancy is that? Like, so fancy. And you have that, and that, again, it's not something I eat every day, but that to me would be like, wow, that's fancy. It's pretty easy to regulate. And honestly, even if you did eat the whole lot, it's way less sugar in 100 grams of that than in 100 grams of Cadbury milk chocolate.
Love it. So, turn up without being hungry, bring your own food, and it could be bringing your own fancy, lovely, low-carb, desserty foods if you want to. This is great. What if, for whatever reason, this is a fictional Mary. It's not really something I imagine that I would do, but I did get overwhelmed. It's something, there's an emotional, my ex-boyfriend turns up and at this party, and I wasn't expecting to see him. And then I just, I'm embarrassed and awkward, and then decide that a good way to soothe these really uncomfortable feelings would be to eat a whole lot of caramel Easter eggs. And so I had these great intentions, but Easter came along and I wasn't able to follow through with my great intentions. Hopefully that wouldn't happen with a good plan and good mindset skills. But what would you say to someone who's perhaps had a bit of what they might call a blowout, an unplanned blowout?
Yeah. So fictional Mary's hit a pothole in the road to good health and upended her vehicle. So, look, this can happen to anybody, and it does happen to anybody. And so, we have a framework for everything when you hit potholes, and we use the framework of the SLC. So SLC stands for slip, lapse, or creep. So a slip is when, a bit like this. So you've had, you weren't planning to go off your plan, but for some reason you've had a slip and you've made a decision that you weren't planning to make, and, you ate a block of carrot milk. A lapse is when you actually decide, it's Easter, I'm going to eat. I'm going to have a block of carrot milk. I don't care. It's fine. And creep is much more subtle. So creep is where you're going along really well and you just over time start to introduce something. So it might be that you have a gin and tonic on a Friday night. Then you might have the gin and tonic on a Friday and a Saturday night. Then suddenly you're going, the weekend starts on a Thursday and finishes on a Sunday. And so there's just been some bracket creep. So that's the SLC. And we treat all of these with another SLC, which is always self-reflection, learning, and you do it with compassion. The thing that we are not taught to do in general is self-reflect because it feels painful. And usually what we want to do is just bury it in a hole because we're full of shame for making this, gigantuan mistake. And everyone will brush it off and go, oh, never mind, tomorrow's another day, start again. And in fact, you don't get to examine anything about it. So I think you can certainly employ the SLC, but practically what we also recommend is following the day after a bit of a bender is that you go back to your basics of 3 meals a day using the framework, the real food framework, protein, veggies, fat, and flavour, because we want, again, people who have heard us before will know who we're talking about when we talk about Fluffy, but Fluffy will be out. So, Maz, would you like to explain to perhaps some of our newer listeners who Fluffy is.
Ah, yes, enter stage left. Hello, Fluffy. So Fluffy is the name we give to the carb-craving creature, the carbohydrate, sugar, starch craving monster that exists inside our heads. We've all got one to a certain extent because there are certain circumstances in which we will physiologically want to crave carbohydrates. It's just part of being a human. And if you are going along well with your low-carb real food, one of the most amazing, beautiful things is those carb cravings, those sugar cravings, they just go away. They just quieten down. That little mental chatter of, eat the biscuits, eat the biscuits, eat the biscuits. It just goes away. It's lovely. It's freeing. It's so calm. It's so wonderful. One thing that can happen, though, is if you do have a bit of sugar or some carbs, is that Fluffy can start to awaken. And we imagine Fluffy as like the three-headed Cerberus from the Harry Potter franchise. So, it's a three-headed dog that in Harry Potter, it's guarding the Philosopher's Stone. In Greek mythology, it's guarding the gates to Hades. And it's asleep. When you're on low carb, real food, you're metabolically healthy. Fluffy's just sleeping. Little music is playing. All three heads are snoozing away. It's so lovely and calm. Eat a little bit, sugar, eat a little bit of, highly processed starchy foods. And then one head wakes up. One head of Fluffy is waking up and starts sniffing around, wanting more carbs. And physiologically, there is a real biochemical hormonal reason why this happens. Then you might eat a bit more, then two heads will wake up. Have a bit more, then you've got all three heads of Fluffy is waking up, raging around your brain saying, feed me. And Fluffy doesn't want, the lovely, high protein meal. Fluffy wants the sugar and the chips and the starch and the processed foods. And it can be pretty uncomfy having this carb craving Fluffy raging around your brain. But, fictional Mary who ate all the caramel chocolate, she emotionally ate those. One thing that has happened to this fictional Mary is that Fluffy has awoken. And that's okay as long as you understand what's going on and you have a few tips and tricks about how you can put that Fluffy back to sleep again.
Yeah. So I think again, all you queens out there who've done dieting, you'll know that the antidote to overeating is under-eating the next day, except that's rubbish, because what happens is if you under-eat the next day, again, you've got Fluffy awake, he's very, very convincing. And so you'll wake up and you'll go, oh, my God, I feel sick. I'm not going to eat today. I'm just going to have a rest. And then you get to tea time and you're polishing off, as past Mary has done, polishing off all Mirabelle's Easter eggs.
Sorry, Mirabelle.
It is way better to go, all right, okay, we do need to put Fluffy back to sleep. He is quieter when I'm not hungry. He is quieter when I'm eating protein, when I eat my framework of protein, fat, veggies. He is quieter. He may not be asleep yet, but he's quieter. So if he's quieter, then I can deal with him, pestering perhaps. And instead of barking like a furious dog, it sort of goes from a bark to a bit of a whimper. And then it doesn't take long, a day, 2 days, maybe 3 at the most, and he's back asleep. And you're going, oh, thank God. All that chat, that food chatter, it stopped. Huzzah.
And I think that is important to know that it's pretty time limited. So if you do have a blowout in inverted commas and the carb cravings come back, it's not like you're back to, being in the absolute throes of sugar addiction or carbohydrate addiction. Fluffy will go back to sleep quickly if you nourish yourself well. Just nourish yourself really well and thoughtfully in the few days afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, once then you get to do the self-reflection, because it may not be Easter for another year, but there will be another occasion where it's a gathering of people or there's some other, situation where you make a decision that you then wish you didn't make. And so what you get to do when you reflect like this is you get to know yourself. And when you know yourself well, that's when you can make decisions you're happy with because you understand yourself, and you understand yourself in such a beautiful, knowing way, not a berated, hangdog kind of, I don't want to know myself way.
To become your own friend with self-compassion and self-kindness and understand what's harder for you, what's easier for you. And you get better at getting better. You get better at getting on track. You get better at staying on plan. You just get better with practice. It spirals up and up and up and up.
Yeah, absolutely. You can become more consistent. And I think this is the thing that people do need to recognize, that so many people get worried. They've been, doing their low carb for a while, and then, they hit the pothole, and then they can't believe it. I can't believe it. I promised myself this would never happen. I can't believe I've done it. Believe it. It's going to happen. And what we want to do is go, okay, well, we make a plan for it. We get back on our path and we just keep going and, thinking about the things that led to that decision, because then next time we might be able to make a different one.
Yes. Health and weight loss, it's a self-development journey, and it's beautiful.
Absolutely. And lovelies, just doesn't have to be perfect, does have to be consistent.
Happy Easter, everybody.
Oh, yes. And with that, it's time for us to bid you farewell, and we will see you next week.
See you later.
Bye for now. The information shared on the Real Health and Weight Loss podcast, including show notes and links, provides general information only. It is not a substitute, nor is it intended to provide individualized medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor can it be construed as such. Please consult your doctor for any medical concerns.